JavaScript in MongoDB server. For sure, we all know that MongoDB is JavaScript capable. Though MongoDB has many commands and many inbuilt methods, without you able to create your own JavaScript code that will run on or run against MongoDB, it is like repairing without a toolbox. JavaScript powers anyone who wants to work efficiently with MongoDB. JavaScript's main application in MongoDB is in admin jobs. In addition to that, JavaScript plays a key role in data analysis and manipulation also, so that there is no need for you to pull the entire data to the server side to do analysis. You can directly embed a JavaScript code and run it on the server itself using eval with query. Previously, there was a method by name db.eval which has been deprecated from MongoDB version 3. It was very useful so that you can write your own function within a eval method and execute it against the database. But unlikely this has been deprecated, I hope mainly due to the security reasons. The third feature of JavaScript is that the MongoDB shell is REPL capable. So you can just use like that, like any JavaScript parser. To understand and see how JavaScript is very useful in MongoDB, we'll be using these 6 simple demos. To start with, we'll be using JavaScript in the shell. Then we'll be comparing JavaScript methods with their command equivalents. After that, we'll be doing a simple demo on cursor, then eval method. Eval is deprecated, but till now it is very useful. Then we have the interesting one, though it is not a recommended practice. We'll be saving the JavaScript itself on the server directly using system.js. Then finally, we'll be seeing how to run an external JS file through the Mongo command line. So these are the 6 simple demos we are going to see now. Let's start with JavaScript in shell. I'll be using RoboMongo. To start with, I'll create a database. JS demo DB, and in this I'm going to create a collection JS. Let me open a shell for this one. We got a shell now. To start with, I'm going to insert some documents with random numbers in that. I can use the JavaScript loop here easily. The shell can be used just like a JavaScript REPL. I'm going to do an insert here, db.collection.js.insert. I'll be selecting a simple document. Let me name the field as a random number, and the value is going to be math.random. I'm going to insert random numbers between 1 to 100. You can easily access JavaScript native functions from here. So to insert, we'll be using *100 plus 1. This will create random numbers from 1 till 100. So you can see here I have used the JavaScript library. Let me execute this. Braces are closed. On execution, I must see records getting inserted. View the documents in table view. You can see random numbers being inserted in the document. So what we have seen is we have just used JavaScript functions to create this random number. Now let me show how to use a JavaScript variable to filter the same. Filter max equal to 50. I'm going to do a find query to filter all the values whichever is greater than 50. Find the field name is random number. Let me copy this one. Random number greater than 50. Let me cover this with braces. So braces are there everywhere. On execution, we must see only the random numbers with values greater than 50 got listed here. So instead of having this value, you can also use the variable here. That's very easy. The result will be the same. Okay, I haven't executed this one, so I need to execute this so the variable get initialized. Then I'm going to execute this. So we got the same result as that of the previous. You can use JavaScript variable inside your queries easily like this. And similarly, you can access JavaScript functions inside your queries like this. So this shows us how we can use MongoDB shell to use JavaScript. We have seen about JavaScript in shell. Next, we are going to learn about MongoDB JavaScript methods and command relation. For this, you need to visit to this link, that is write scripts for the Mongo shell. This is under the manual. In this page, there is a subtopic differences between interactive and scripted Mongo. Click on this. A table showing the shells with corresponding JavaScript equivalents are listed here. For example, you can use this command show databases in the shell to list all the databases available. Or you can use the JavaScript equivalent like this, db.admin command list databases. This is also going to fetch the same results. Similarly, for collections, you can either use a shell one, that is show collections, or you can use the db.getCollectionNames. This is in JavaScript. And finally, we have cursors. So cursors are generally used along with the find method, which is going to return a set of documents and then you can loop through it. So let us see that. Cursor is a handle or pointer to a set of documents which are returned by a query. For example, if you see the definition for the find method, it returns a cursor to the resultant. A cursor to the documents that match the query criteria. This is the return type of a find method. Using cursor is very, very easy. I'll be using this collection over here. If you view the documents in the collection, these are the documents in table view. It has a field by name random number which has numeric values. So the same using cursor works like this. The return type is a cursor. So the results are saved here. I mean the handle to the results are saved here. The next step is to loop through the cursor. So loop through the cursor. That's easy. We'll be using the while loop here. Cursor has next method. One more thing I have forgotten is in the documentation you can check about the methods available in a cursor. Under reference Mongo shell methods, cursor methods, you can see the methods available for a cursor. So here the definition for hasNext is given, returns true if the cursor has documents to be iterated. So that's what we are checking while cursor.hasNext. The next one is the next method which returns the next document in the cursor. We'll be using both of these methods here. print JSON cursor return dot next. On running this, we must see the documents in JSON format. We got the result in JSON format. If you want the field value of random number, you can easily do this, and then on executing you will be seeing only the random number values here. One more thing is, I am going to insert the cursor values into a new collection, that is test collection copy. db dot collection days dot insert. Sorry, this is test collection JS. Copy dot insert these values dot next. So on running this, we must see this new collection populated with the same values of this collection. So prior to that, let me show the values in this collection. It's empty. After running this, let me check the collection again. The values got copied to this. Here we used cursors for this. So cursors completely give you control over the return result. You can play with that. Now let us move to the next topic, that is using eval. The next interesting and useful thing is the eval method. The command equivalent for the eval method is the eval command. As you can see here, this is available in the documentation page. It's under query write operation commands eval. Similarly, the JavaScript equivalent for eval is db.eval. The only sad thing about this is it is deprecated since version 3, but it's very useful, very handy. This is the syntax for that. Let us see an example of how to use that db.eval for JavaScript. Let me copy the syntax. So this is the syntax. Let me make a simple method first, add method. I mean the add function, add, which will take two parameters x comma y, and it is going to return x plus y. Now the next is the argument. So I have created the function here. Function is here. So the arguments I'm going to specify as 100, 200. Let me execute this. So you can see the warning here, db eval is deprecated, but the result also has appeared. It's 300. This is the syntax of db.eval. A function is taken as a first parameter and the method arguments for this. For a complex example, let me show the values in this document first. In tabular view, it has a random number field with numbers. We are going to use eval to find the sum of all the random numbers here. We'll be using cursor for this. The first step is to have a find one here for this. Let me copy this. The result is going to be saved in a cursor. The next step is to loop the cursor. create one more variable here. Cursor.next. The column name is random number. I hope, let me cross check it again. Random number, or let me view it. The final step is to return this addition value. So we have a simple eval function, which is a sum which operates on cursor. It has to return the total sum of all the random numbers in the collection. So we got the result, that is 5135. That's the sum of all the random numbers in the collection. This is the use of eval method, but sadly it has been deprecated from version 3. Now let us move to the next topic, that is using system.js. This is also not a recommended practice, but to know that, it is good. Using system.js. So under documentation of MongoDB, if you can navigate to store a JavaScript function on the server, there is a note is given here clearly that do not store application logic in the database. This is mainly due to performance limitations. But in few conditions, we may need to save JavaScript function on the server side. So for this, there is a special collection by name system.js where you can use a save method to save a function like this, where id is the name of the function and value is the function content. Do remember in the previous section we have seen about db.eval, in which we have used a function sum to do a sum of all the random numbers here in this collection. I'm going to use the same, but there is a minor change that this will be saved in a different database. So you need to get the database reference here. db.get siblings. So you can see the method here, db.get sibling db. This will get you the database. So in our case, it is js demo db. JS demo db. Let me copy this one. We got the database, and on this database we are getting a collection, and on the collection we are performing a find, and using cursor we are adding all the random values that is present in the collection. So it will take a sum of all these random values. I'm going to copy this to the db.system.save. db.system.js.save method is the one we are looking at. The first argument is going to be the id for this, and the second one is going to be the method. So for the id, we'll be calling this as sum of random, and the value is going to be the function. We don't need any arguments here. We got id and the value. I just need to close this brace. Yes. So on executing this, expect a token in line number 3. Ah, yes, I missed a circular brace here, as well as a circular brace here. So now this must work. So a new record has been created. We have a function by name sum of random. If you refer to the documentation, before executing the function, we just need to call the load server scripts. So let me call that one first. The next step is to call the sum of random. On calling this, we got the output. So this is how it works. Let me recollect what we have done now. We have created a function by name sum of random and we have saved in the database using db.system.js.save. In the function, for the value part, we got the reference to the database, then we got the collection, then using cursor we are doing a sum of all the random numbers and returning it. Before calling the function, we have called load server scripts and then we have executed the function which resulted in this output. This is how to save a server-side JavaScript function which is similar to a stored procedure in the SQL world.